Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks again so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's take another look here at Bitcoin, retesting that $56,000 mark. Is it going to hold? Is it going to continue higher? I'm getting that question quite a lot today because we have a short open from 59,900 and we're so far in profit, soon to ideally secure that profit here in just a few minutes once the target is achieved. I think 55,750 is our profit target. So I'm mentioning all that because we're coming up to a key level resistance. We've tested that level almost twice now, and 57,000 was a previous support range, and it makes sense that that being kind of a round number, also a key fib level here, is more likely to be a new resistance. Okay, so again, it's not exactly just the only reasons why we consider that short. We also have a rising wedge pattern here as well, which typically breaks to the downside. They're not a super high success rate, but if you combine that with a few other key factors, it can be very successful. So if you're curious as to what that is on the chart, that's what that is. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the back-end data here for liquidation. And at this point, just kind of see what's going on, because when it comes to Bitcoin and liquidation levels, there was a handful of liquidation at that 57K mark, which has since been swept. Again, as we can kind of zoom in here, there's a small amount. I know it's weird to kind of downplay a small amount of 1.6 billion, but there's a small amount of liquidation at 57 even, and then of course 57.5 and 58 roughly. So that range of 57 to 58, we're getting an accumulation there. But if you look here, 1.272, 1.6, 1.6, 1.6 again. There's been a decent amount of liquidation that occurred already, upwards between 56 and 57. So a pullback definitely makes sense. Now, is it going to drop to the ground? Maybe not, but also maybe too. You never truly know. The market isn't super stable, and you want to be careful with taking longs right now. I've been kind of warning that all day long. Not to say there isn't any profit in the market, folks. There are some really good coins today. The coin is a lot of coins are performing very well, but for right now at this point, it's crazy to get too crazy with longs just based on the fact that we're kind of nearing a tentative top. And I think that Bitcoin could correct itself a little bit, and we'll at least take a look at those potential opportunities. Keep in mind, of course, liquidation to the upside does imply we could still see the price continue higher. Let's not forget that that is still a possibility. Okay, we do have a fair value gap here just to kind of jump into the 1 hour time frame, upwards of about 58K. That's why my second entry, if you are part of our community, is right there at that 58K mark, just because of the fact that once that gap is filled, a lot of times the price action will pull back. So oftentimes liquidation events occur like this and then come back down. So that may be a possibility. Take a look here at the daily time frame. Let's quickly understand a few things here. And first of all, I kind of plotted the CME gap on the charts there, just so you're kind of familiar with where that's at. Again, that's an area that's commonly filled. Does it get filled instantly? No, the last one took 3 weeks. So at this point, we are in a situation right now where that could eventually get filled, but we got a lot of resistance ahead of us between now and then. So keep that in mind. All moving averages are right there at about that 60 to 61K mark. So that is, again, a somewhat of a resistance level above in that upper range there at 62.5. If we look at some moving averages here, this hasn't changed much since this morning. In fact, not at all. We're seeing the price action kind of stabilize in the 56 to 57K mark. But again, the key takeaway here is we got that little bounce off that 30 range, and you should have considered selling or taking profits on your trade if you haven't already. Okay, as far as a short is concerned, and obviously me personally with a long, we'll see here in a minute, but there's a decent chance you should have secured profits on a long too, just because we're coming up to this key fib level at 57,000, that 0.382 fib. It's a common rejection area when the price tries to come back up. Okay, now again, we're right at 50 in the RSI, just shy of it, so this does imply that we're still underneath of resistance, which is closer to 57, 58K. We can see MACD converging and stochastic topped out. It's kind of a conflict, right? When you got a momentous indicator saying it's going to go up and a short-term momentous indicator saying it's going to come down, what the heck do you do? Well, oftentimes it becomes range-bound, so my speculation is that we'll see a range of 55 to 57K, as long as those two aren't broken, and we'll effectively see the price action in that range for a little while. Again, it's not a guarantee, of course, but we got to wait and let Bitcoin stabilize before we get too crazy with altcoins. Again, that's half the reason why you haven't seen any signals from me yet, minus our Bitcoin short, just based on the simple fact that the market hasn't given a lot of confirming factors. The only main confirming factors we're seeing here on the shorter time frames is that there is potential for reversal here. Now, when we take a look at the Ichimoku cloud, you got to recognize this is telling us here that we have and we are in decent shape with long positions. Okay, now I know it seems contradictory to open a short into that, but the truth is, again, when you're working within a range, you can range all you want. So in other words, this range right now, buy the dip, sell the top. That's effectively where we're at. Again, this lower range of 55K, that's a previous macro fib level, but also a recent candlestick closure on the daily, and it's just an important level to be recognized to the fact that the price is probably going to be able to balance out that level it comes down to it. So 55K I would say is a good solid consideration for a long, even though at this point here the lagging span soon intersect with the price action, letting us know if you have a long position open, you probably should have secured profits by now. So we're just starting to see that shift in momentum is all. It's really not like an obvious indicator here, and it's not a situation where it's glaringly obvious we had to take a long or a short. It's just that, again, the range that we're in, we're seeing this top right here at 57K and a tentative bottom at 55. I'm thinking we're going to be range bound within that range. So again, a short to the 55, 56K range makes sense. Okay. Now, obviously it's too late to short considering the current price action is at 56. Do you short to 55? Short answer is no. You probably want to wait to take a long there, if at all. You can also, argue that, we're at the beginning of a head and shoulders, the price could pull back. A lot of little things could happen right now. So again, just too early to tell. So me personally, the best trade is no trade at this point. Our leverage trade was a 10x leverage short position with low position size. Again, that's just generally kind of the concept for all my Bitcoin trades. I don't really change that. And you should start to use the same type of structure on every single trade. Because if you're jumping in, jumping out at any given time, or maybe you have a 5x one day and 25 the next, and maybe 37 the day after, that's going to lead to some disastrous results because you're not used to gaining or losing X amount per trade. So just getting a good little swing, good little habit there. I mentioned that just because I got a lot of questions, recently asking about, hey, what's best practice here? And generally speaking, that is kind of the best way to go. So we're about to see a breakout soon. Ideally, the price comes down, performs a bearish backtest of this ascending trend line, and then we see the price action retrace that 55, possibly even lower range. But at this point, again, there's still some tentative bullish signs for Bitcoin. So I'm not really speculating the price is going to drop all that hard if it does. A natural correction would make sense. That's just kind of where the trade is at for the moment. So again, if you're concerned about it, we're in pretty significant profit right now from 59.5 or 56.9 rather. Make sure you consider securing some profits, if you're worried about it. But me personally, I'm going to let it ride. I think we're going to be able to hit our target there and perhaps even and then some. So for now, that's kind of where we're at. I know it's kind of a mixed bag, but the market gives us a lot of these situations, and it's important to not get too out of control with it, right? So again, hindsight's 2020. Should we have taken a bunch of longs yesterday? Of course. But who's to know the price action was going to recover the way that it did? It really shouldn't have, but there's some momentous things too. Okay, so again, remember, CME gap up here, that does give incentive to push the price action up to that level to fill that gap. I don't think we're going to see that immediately. I personally think we're going to maybe see a little bit of a correction here and maybe a second leg up, perhaps, if we have a brief period of consolidation. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. So either way, enough rambling. I hope this makes sense and I described this correctly. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you learned something here today. I deeply appreciate you. And if you want to become a better trader, again, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link down below. Quick heads up, if you're part of our trading community, make sure you watch my academy videos for starters. But for secondary, make sure you read through my signals guide, pay attention to my trade alerts. These are all things that are here to help educate you on what I'm thinking about the trades before we take them, and just so you kind of fill in the gaps essentially, because some folks are kind of curious about that. So it's all there for you to learn and understand how to get a little more consistent. All right, folks, thanks again for your time. We'll see you next one. Have a good day.